June 26, 1943, 10:15 a.m. High over the patchwork fields of occupied France, near Rouen, the thunderous roar of a Pratt & Whitney R2800 engine shakes the cockpit as Lieutenant Robert S. Johnson grips the stick of his Republic P-47 Thunderbolt, call sign half-pint. Tracer fire streaks past his canopy like angry hornets, the air thick with the acrid scent of gunpowder and burning oil. His formation from the 56th Fighter Group has just tangled with a swarm of Focke-Wulf FW-190s from Yakushwada 2, the elite Luftwaffe unit prowling the Channel front. Johnson's heart pounds as he banks hard, the massive fighter groaning under the strain. But then bam! A 20mm cannon shell slams into his fuselage, ripping through metal like paper. Flames lick at the edges of his vision, and the plane shudders violently, spinning out of control toward the earth below. You can almost feel the G-forces pinning him back, the sweat stinging his eyes behind the goggles. Johnson fights the controls, wrestling the beast back to level flight, but the damage is catastrophic. Hydraulic fluid sprays across the instrument panel. The canopy jams shut, trapping him in a coffin of smoke and fire. Up ahead, a German ace, perhaps from the ranks of veterans like Egon Meyer, lines up for the kill, pouring round after round into the wounded Thunderbolts. 8.5 caliber machine guns on the P-47 could shred anything in the sky. But right now, Johnson's guns are silent, his focus on survival. The Luftwaffe pilot closes in, disbelief etched in his maneuvers. How is this bulky American flying milk bottle still airborne? The Germans had laughed at the P-47 when it first appeared over Europe. Adolf Galland, the legendary general of fighters, had dismissed it as a cumbersome jug, too heavy for the agile dogfights that defined aerial combat. It looks like a bathtub with wings, they joked in their mess halls, confident their sleek Messerschmitt PF-190s and FW-190s would sweep these Yankee intruders from the heavens. But here, in this chaotic ballet of death, the mockery crumbles. Johnson's plane absorbs hit after hit, 21 cannon shells in total, over 200 machine gun bullets riddling the airframe. One shell explodes in the cockpit, shattering glass and instruments. Another punctures the oil tank, sending black smoke trailing like a funeral pyre. The Luftwaffe pilot pulls alongside, peering through his canopy, his face a mask of stunned incredulity. He fires one last burst, point blank, then nothing. He wags his wings in a rare salute, a warrior's acknowledgement of the impossible, and peels away, vanishing into the clouds. Johnson, bloodied and choking on fumes, nurses his crippled bird across the English Channel, crash landing at RAF Manston in the spray of sparks and twisted metal. Mechanics swarm the wreckage, jaws dropping at the sight, holes big enough to stick a fist through, the turbocharger shredded, yet the pilot walks away. It shouldn't have flown, one engineer mutters, shaking his head. From arrogance to awe in a single sortie, this was the P-47's brutal introduction to the Luftwaffe's aces. The Thunderbolt story didn't start in glory. When the first P-47s rolled off Republic Aviation's assembly lines in Farmingdale, New York, skeptics abounded, even among Allied pilots. It was massive, over 36 feet wingspan, weighing in at nearly 8 tons fully loaded, earning its nickname Jug for its jug-like fuselage that resembled an old milk bottle. But beneath that ungainly exterior beat the heart of a predator, a 2,000 horsepower radial engine, armored cockpit, and self-sealing fuel tanks that could take punishment no other fighter dreamed of. Elite Luftwaffe pilots like Galland, with his 104 victories, had mocked American air power early on. The Yanks fly bombers, not fighters, they'd say, recalling how early P-40s and P-39s faltered against the Luftwaffe veterans. The P-47 was supposed to change that, but initial encounters in 1943 fueled the derision. It climbed slowly, turned like a truck compared to the nimble FW-190, which could outroll and outdive it at low altitudes. Yet the reversal came swift and thunderous. In escort missions over Berlin and beyond, the P-47's strengths shone through. Its high-altitude performance, thanks to the turbo supercharger, allowed it to dominate above 25,000 feet, where German interceptors struggled for oxygen. And those 8 Browning M2 machine guns, they fired .5 caliber slugs at 850 rounds per minute each, turning enemy formations into confetti. Take Colonel Hubert Zemke's 56th Fighter Group, the Wolfpack. On August 17, 1943, during the Schweinfurt-Regensburg raid, Zemke's Jug shredded 17 Luftwaffe fighters for the loss of just 3. Pilots like Francis Gabby Gabreski racked up 28 kills, diving from the sun to ambush Bf-109s, their heavy artillery ripping wings clean off. The Germans, once dismissive, now radioed frantic warnings, Achtung Thunderbolts. Galland himself
himself, after test flying a captured P-47 post-war, admitted its ruggedness was unmatched. It could absorb damage that would destroy our planes, he conceded. But it wasn't just the kills, it was the psychological blow. Luftwaffe aces, hardened by years on the Eastern Front, found their arrogance shattered as P-47s escorted B-17 flying fortresses deep into Reich territory, turning the tide of the air war. By late 1943, the once mighty Jagdgeschwader units were bleeding pilots, their replacements green and terrified of the Jugs dive-bombing runs on airfields and trains. Johnson's miraculous survival that June day wasn't unique. Countless Thunderbolts limped home with damage that defied physics, their pilots living to fight another day. The mockery had flipped. Now it was the Americans laughing as they claimed the skies. And yet, as the air war raged, a parallel drama unfolded beneath the waves, where another Allied innovation was about to doom Germany's underwater predators in a wave of disbelief.
March 10, 1943, 0247 a.m., 400 miles south of Iceland, North Atlantic. The steel hull of U-405 groans under the weight of black water. Inside, the air is thick with diesel fumes, sweat, and the sour tang of fear. Kapitän Leutnant Rolf Heinrich Hauptmann stands hunched over the chart table, red bulb casting shadows across his unshaven face. His Type 7 C-boat is the eyes of a wolf pack, 8 U-boats fanning out in a 60-mile arc, hunting convoy SC-122. Torpedoes are loaded, hydrophones silent. Hauptmann's lips curl in a thin, predatory smile. "The Tommies are blind tonight," he mutters. "We feast." You can almost taste the salt spray on your tongue as U-405 breaks the surface, moonlight glinting off the conning tower's wet iron cross. Hauptmann's binoculars sweep the horizon. There, the faint silhouettes of 50 merchant hulls, zigzagging in panic under a lone destroyer searchlight. The destroyer, HMS Harvester, is a tired old V&W-class relic, her depth charge racks nearly empty after 3 days of cat and mouse. Hauptmann signals the pack. Angriff. 4 U-boats dive in unison, periscopes slicing the swells like shark fins. Torpedoes hiss from bow tubes. G7A eels, compressed air-driven, 38 knots of death. One strikes the freighter SS Clarissa Radcliffe amidships, her boilers rupture in a bloom of orange fire. Screams swallowed by the gale. Another guts the tanker SS William Pierce, 10,000 tons of aviation fuel igniting into a floating inferno. Hauptmann allows himself a rare laugh, like shooting fish in a barrel. Back in Lorient, Grand Admiral Karl Donitz pores over the tally sheets in his concrete bunker. March has been a massacre. 97 ships in 20 days, over 500,000 gross tons. His U-boat arm is the Reich's scalpel, cutting Allied supply lines artery by artery. The Milku supply submarines keep the wolfpacks at sea for months. New Type 9 boats prowl as far as the Caribbean. Donitz slams a fist on the map. "The Atlantic is ours," he declares to his staff. The convoy system is broken. His aces, Otto Kretschmer, Gunther Preen's successors, rack up Ritterkreuz decorations like medals at a parade. They mock the Royal Navy's escorts as tin cans with pop guns, their Aztec pings easy to dodge by diving deep or riding thermal layers. The Hedgehog, a rumor, a joke. 24 little bombs, Kretschmer scoffs in the officers' mess. "I'll surface and catch them in my coffee cup." But beneath the bravado, cracks are forming. Allied code breakers at Bletchley Park have begun reading Enigma traffic. Donitz's 4-rotor keys cracked in December 42. Convoys now reroute around Wolfpack patrol lines. Escort groups swell with new Flower-class corvettes and Captain-class frigates. And in the blacked-out yards of Boston Navy Yard, a weapon is loading aboard HMS Pennywatt that no U-boat captain has ever seen. April 22, 1943. Convoy ONS 5, 63 merchantmen, 16 escorts, steams into a North Atlantic storm. Visibility 200 yards, seas 40 feet. U-175, commanded by the aggressive Heinrich Bruns, stalks the starboard quarter. Bruns is a rising star, 11 ships to his name. Fearless, he surfaces at night to recharge batteries, confident the escort's radar is blinded by rain. Inside Pennywatt, Lieutenant Commander Robert Atkinson watches the Type 271 centimetric radar screen bloom with a contact. 1,800 yards, closing fast. No time for depth charges. Atkinson orders, "Hedgehog, fire!" The mortar spigot launcher erupts with a hollow thum thum thum. 24 60
65-pound bombs arc forward in an elliptical pattern, splashing 200 yards ahead of the ship. No plumes, no telltale wakes. Bruns, peering through his attack periscope, sees nothing. Then hell. Contact fuses detonate on impact with U-175's pressure hull. 7 bombs strike home. The submarine lurches as bulkheads buckle. Lights explode in showers of sparks. Chlorine gas hissing from ruptured batteries. Bruns screams orders. Blow tanks, surface. But it's too late. The bow rises at a grotesque angle. Screws thrashing air before the boat plunges stern first into the abyss. 41 men die in minutes. 13 scramble onto the casing, clinging to the saddle tanks as Pennywatt's whaler hauls them aboard, stunned, oil-soaked, staring at the weapon that killed them without warning. Word spreads through the U-boat pens like plague. Dönitz demands answers. How do they know? He rages. Captured Hedgehog bombs are dissected in Berlin. Contact pistols. No depth setting. A head-thrown pattern. The math is merciless. Depth charges explode in a random circle behind the escort. Only 7% hit. Hedgehog lands ahead. 25% kill rate per salvo. By May, 200 Hedgehogs are at sea. The Wolfpack's golden month collapses. 41 U-boats lost, 15 to the new weapon. Dönitz orders tactical retreat. Dive deeper. Avoid night surfaces. Spread thinner. But the Atlantic is shrinking. And in the freezing hold of a Canadian corvette, a German survivor whispers to his guard, "We thought we were hunters," until the sky began to fall upward.